Good morning, everybody. This is Byron Lehman again, and my YouTube channel is The Jittery Goat. And I also have a website, The Jittery Goat. It's at jitteryg.com. That's where you'll find my short stories and also the links to my novels on YouTube. No, they're not on YouTube, they're on Amazon. I'm going to put a link to a short story in the comments section, and it's a story again I wrote probably 10 years ago. It's entitled Dreadlocks and Dimples, and I think you'll really enjoy it. Excuse me. It's really a cute story, and it's about first love, and it's about two kids who are probably about 6 or 7, maybe 8 years old. And you can read the story. It is so short and so simple that it can be read in a couple minutes. Again, I think it's something you're just going to enjoy. You kind of get a little bit deeper into it and think about all the things that are involved in just this simple story. As you can imagine, dreadlocks and dimples. We have dreadlocks. That's typically what might be worn by someone who's black. It's about a little black girl and a little white boy named Rocky, and he's in love. So that's how the story. That's the basis of the story, and of course the theme is an old theme: forbidden love, love from the other side of the tracks. Love story, Romeo and Juliet, West Side Story, South Pacific, all those follow that theme of boy meets girl. They're both from either different races or different ethnicities or different social structures. And I think this is kind of like the purest that I could conceive of. It's just something that's so natural. The attraction of a boy for a girl. The first love. And what is that attraction? Well, it's so natural and so pure that maybe it's the purest and untarnished since Adam and Eve first cast eyes on each other. Pure and innocent. It's young love beyond adolescence or before adolescence, where it's not erotic feelings, but just the way a person smiles, they walk, they talk, the way they interact with you, and of course just their presence. And of course in this story it's a mixed race class, and when I was put in this class as a young man, because that's where these feelings come from. This is where the story comes from. I was first introduced to children of another color, people of another color, and it doesn't take you long to realize that no one is beneath you. Kids of another race are just as smart, just as pretty, and just as good as you are in every way. We're all the same. So the story, the lesson, it certainly teaches us that race is there, but that's it. It's just there. And we can respect, love people of all sorts, and we just don't limit it to one race or one ethnicity. And it's good when we have feelings like that, when we come to this realization, or we think back on it and come to this realization. It's good that we kind of memorialize those feelings and in writing, so that we can, so to speak, set them in stone. And as a writer, we share that with other people, so they can benefit from it just as well as we can, so that others can enjoy it, and like I mentioned, learn something from it. So it's amazing when we think about race. So I think if we leave people alone, that they can figure it all out on their own. They need just a little bit of information really to figure it out. Let them settle things on their own. Too often in societies today, we have some people who are well intentioned, uh, and then we have just people who are agitators. But I think basically, I think people will get along if you allow them to. In fact, I'm kind of right. I'm working on a novel right now. I just happen to think about it. The first part of that novel has to do with race, and it's about an experience that I had back in 1964, and I think it was actually in Arkansas. And of course, I'll probably have an opportunity to tell you about that when I start editing the book, and I'm going to also very likely what I'm going to do is I'm going to publish some of them on my website so they can be read. So I'll share that story a little bit later on. So the thing is, this story, what I wanted to do, if you're a writer, is I kind of wanted to go back to basics, and I wanted to write the simplest story that I possibly could in the simplest style that I possibly could. And I think when you read it, you'll see that. And when I get that story out, when I've read it a few times, I'm personally impressed with how simple it is, how direct, but how touching it is too. And that's what I like about it. So I think as a writer, what we have to do sometimes is sit back, and we're involved in writing and trying to create stories and drama and different things to make a story interesting, and toss in their adjectives, adverbs, and verbs, and to get the story moving and so forth. And those make up good stories and so forth. However, sometimes a concert pianist, he has to, when he's away from the stage, he has to sit and practice. And sometimes he has to go back to the fundamentals. He'll do those fundamentals. Or, I played basketball when I was younger, and I watch a lot of not a lot of basketball anymore, but sometimes when I see videos of basketball players just practicing, I'll see them go through moves in slow motion. They'll practice moves and it'll be in slow motion. And they go back to some of the basic things. They'll practice their foul shot, and you'll see them very slowly take that shot and over exaggerate the fundamentals of it, so they get them down, and so that in a game, what they can do is they can perform at a professional level or college level or whatever it happens to be, but with proficiency. And I think we have to do that with writing too, is sometimes that we have to latch hold of the story and say, well, I'm just going to write this simple and direct. And that gets me back to maybe a base of the writer I really am. And then we can work out from that a little bit. But I think it's important as a writer that we do that. We sit back and we write something simple. Now, sometimes what writers will do to help their prose is to sit back and write a poem sometimes. Now, those can be pretty complicated. However, it teaches us to think small, so to speak, or reduce everything to the least common denominator when you write. And that's certainly what I did with this story. And of course, like I mentioned, what that does, it prepares us for the bigger stuff later on that we want to write. But getting back to those basics, and that's what this short story is, and I got back to some basics when I came to writing. So I hope you enjoyed the short story. Thanks for stopping by. I'm about ready to have the rest of my coffee. It is so good. The sun is just starting to come over the foothills of the Rockies, and so it's kind of early. So anyway, I'm glad you all were able to join me for a few moments here. So just remember, do good stuff, read good stuff, write good stuff, and again, by all means, see good stuff in others.